As spring practice rolls on, quarterbacks are developing. There's all kind of storylines. Got a special guest to bring all of this together. Buckle up and let's ride. Here we go.
You are Locked On Vandy, your daily podcast on the Vanderbilt Commodores. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, welcome in. It is the Locked On Vandy podcast on the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm your host, Corey Burton. Thank you for making Locked On Vandy your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube as a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. So today, Dr. Kurt Page rejoins the show, quarterback worldwide. Glad to have you back, Kurt. The quarterback situation, and you have a special guest, by the way, Coach Ya from CoachYa.com. Speaking of worldwide, we'll get to him in just a little bit as well. But Kurt, man, glad to have you back. And this quarterback situation, man, it's getting interesting. So my question to you is, it was a two-man race with Nate Johnson and Diego Pavia. Now, Blaise Berlowitz, Drew Dickey are giving Coach Lee and Coach Beck something to think about. Does Diego Pavia have his hands full when he shows up this summer?
Well, Corey, I think it's an awesome thing to go from nothing to something. Mm-hmm. And let's say this. I think everything is set up for Davia to be the guy. Okay? It's like the NFL. We're going to sign that guy for 1 year. Okay? He's going to take our football team close to the state playoffs. I mean, to the football tournament playoffs or bowl game. He's going to take us close there. He may even push us in there. And we're going to we're grooming 3 or 4 of these other guys to be the next guy. That's the way I see it. I think every film, I mean, think about it, Corey. Every film they got on Huddle, they're showing who they're showing. All the plays.
Yeah.
They're showing him making all the plays, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So this is the way we run our offense. Now, I haven't been there. I haven't been in their meetings, but I would say that would be a simple fix if I was a head coach like Clark Lee. If I'm going to sell out to this staff and these members and bring them in my program, and I'm either going to let them do their job or I'm not. So I think he's letting them do their job. I think it was all patterned. I think now you look back, they were very strategic on when people were announced, when people were signed, when people were announced, when people were signed. I mean, look at the coaching pedigree. It kind of fell. And Corey, you and I, if we were covering the New York Yankees or Alabama Crimson Tide or your Atlanta Braves, we would be like, yeah, yes, sir. That's Chiefs too.
That's Braves.
We would
all the way for me.
So we would be what? We would be recognized because we read the tea leaves, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that is what's that called? When you can recognize what's going to be happening. What defensive coverage is that called? Coach Ya?
Recognizing what defense is going.
Yeah, when the coverage, when you're mapping, when you're route, you're jumping the routes.
Pattern matching.
Pattern matching. Yeah. That's it. So it was a pattern that was matching. Diave was out there. He was leaving. The head coach, you just go back and look at the whole timeline. So Clark Lee made an investment, and he's getting 3, 4, 5, 6 people for, he went up in quality. Now, he's got to let them do their job. And that's the biggest thing I see, Corey. I have listened to all the shows. I have listened to all the interviews of our offensive coordinator and offensive position coaches, and they are 100% knowing what they're supposed to do. Mm-hmm. Corey, speak on that about how, now we're on the same page. The offense is complementary. They know exactly what they got to do. I've never heard that from Vandy.
Yeah,
forever.
This one quote from Clark Lee after Tuesday's practice was that he is excited and has confidence that his offense finally has a foundation, which tells me they haven't had that. And because he's been the CEO role, he kind of let that deteriorate a little bit when he really kind of should have just jumped in and said, hey, we need an identity. We need it now. So getting these guys on the same page, it helps when you hire Jerry Kill, Tim Beck, and the other guy, Coach Langford, as the running back coach. You hire 3 guys from the same staff to come in that's implementing the new system.
Right.
They help bring the continuity around. You get guys bought in, and now they have an identity. Quarterback run game, and they have a really great RPO and intermediate passing game off of all of that. That's going to get guys like Junior Sherrill and some of these new receivers involved as well.
We'll learn their names. We lost some great ones because the coaches were inadequate. They were inadequate. And they didn't coach them where they were at. Corey, they didn't. And this is something that Coach Yao talks about, where you're at. Acknowledgement, acceptance, and trusting. And I'll let him talk about that just quickly about
Coach Yao,
where you're at.
Meet him where, why is that important? Because Vandy, Coach Page said, Vandy lost 3 ballers, not just good receivers, ballers, right? One went to Colorado.
He knows, he's a track guy. He knows. He's teaching track and development, speed development for us at MGM.
Hell yeah. Love it. One's going to Georgia and the other is at Boston College. 3 ballers. So the coordinator last year did not meet them where they were in order to take them to the next level. How important is that?
Well, on top of meeting them where they're at, just by the nature of, you have to start with the acknowledgement. Like he said, I have that acronym of AAT, acknowledgement, acceptance, and trust. So when it comes to, you have to acknowledge the ability or the demand within the idea, position, or goal that you're trying to seek. And then you have to accept the way to do it, and then just trust that by doing both, you'll hit the mark, basically have an aim and focus. But I think that it's not only about meeting them where they're at. So first of all, they feel like they're getting better individually, especially in this day and age where you're trying to keep them put. You want to give them the sense that they are increasing, they are getting better, that they are the main character in the story, perceived story that they have within the program, because only that way you can keep them, especially in this new day and age of NIL, but also just as far as self-growth and self-development. If you try to aim too high when they're, haven't worked the fundamentals, you're going to lose them, and the vice versa. Just have to acknowledge and accept wherever they're at, and then trust that if you do both, you'll be able to keep them. But I actually learned something cool today. We listened to it. I don't know if we listened to it together from an audiobook from Dr. Kevin Elko. Responsibility is response with ability. So basically, the idea is that you have to, the only right way to take the responsibility is by the ability that we have to respond with. So I think it does go well with what you just said about the foundation of the offense. Because if you don't recognize where it is that you're at, then you can't apply, you can't optimize, utilize, and implement whatever it is that you have in place, and then it all goes to waste. I hope that kind of answers the question you had. If not, I would love to be more specific with your guidance. I can talk and talk. I'm a kumbaya guy, but I truly believe in the power of the words.
Yeah. Yes, this is great, man. Did we sign up for a coaches clinic already? I mean, this is great, man. To kind of drive your point home, I think with those 3 guys playing at such a high level, that meeting them where they were means how do we incorporate them into what we do in our identity? And if you don't have an identity, you can't really incorporate anybody anywhere, and you can't really meet anybody anywhere. So they left, all right, but they're gone. They're not Vandy players anymore. So we're good luck at their places. I don't wish ill will on them by any stretch, but they're no longer Vandy players. So listen to
somebody else's problem.
Bulldogs, listen to Locked On Buffaloes, listen to
that's right. Go
Boston College if you want to hear about those.
Black and gold, man. Locked On Vandy.
So the guys, Quincy Skinner, Junior Sherrill, Jeremiah Dillon, Loic Foungy, I think is how you pronounce his name, are all guys that are chomping at the bit for an opportunity. Richie Hoskins, don't sleep on him, the senior wide receiver. Julian Edelman type. There's some things, there's some targets out there to be had. So, these quarterbacks do have something to throw to. What are we thinking about these weapons? Like, I know, like, on paper, it was a massive downgrade because of the talent, but you get these guys with some opportunity. There's some true ability there. We just don't know what they have just yet. Go. Bam. All right. Fire TV is your destination for sports, from live games to highlights to in-depth analysis. Fire TV offers amazing viewing experiences with smart TVs, as well as the Fire TV stick that you can plug into your existing TV that provides access to millions of movies and TV episodes, as well as free and live TV. Whether it's opening weekend for baseball or the college basketball tournament, you're going to want to have a Fire TV. Fire TV recently created Fire TV channels to deliver a constant supply of the latest videos from your favorite sports brands, all for free. That includes all of us at Locked On and most of the big pro leagues and college conferences as well. Fire TV channels let you dive into all of the game analysis, highlights, and more to keep up to date on all the latest in the world of sports, March Madness, NBA, MLB, and lots more. Not to mention great news, entertainment, gaming, travel, cooking videos as well. Check out Fire TV channels on Fire TV and Alexa devices. If you haven't checked out Fire TV channels, you should. Trust me on this. To learn more, visit www.amazon.com/lockedonfiretv. Are you watching Fox Sports or ESPN on your TV all day? You have to turn down the volume with all of that shouting. So make the switch to Locked On Sports Today, a free 24/7 sports streaming channel programmed for you every day to bring you the biggest stories without all the screaming. Locked On Sports Today brings you can't-miss analysis, opinions, and news, streaming 24/7 on YouTube or for free, or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Well, I think you described it a few weeks back, Corey. They got to be creative, and they're going to be creative with the many tight ends and many guys that are different size structures. So we got taller guys, we got wider guys, we got longer guys, we got a wholesale set of tight ends. Mm-hmm. That's part of that type of football, and so that's good. So, and actually, there's a lot of those kids that are, there's availability to get some of those kids. Now, there are also kids that grow like a J.J. Watt. They grow into a great defensive end, So Vandy just has to keep doing what we're doing and signing guys, I guess, to, 1-year contracts and find out who, if you commit to a guy for 2 years, I just don't know how it's all set up. But I do know this, that they are getting better. And Coach Ya's point is if a kid knows he's getting better, then the program's getting better. And it's got to help. It's got to help. What are we thinking? 2 to 4 wins, 2 to 5 wins, 2 to 6 wins.
I'm thinking bowl
2 to 7 wins, 2 to 8 wins.
I don't know if you heard this
2 to 9 wins.
I called my shots.
Okay.
I called a shot there. Bowl game.
Okay.
Bowl game.
I say +2. I say we don't go +2. We need to match. We need to match because the whole thing in SEC right now is about to get, who knows what is about to happen? Who knows? We're truly at a 0-0 everything, right? Yeah. Would you agree to that?
Yeah, I would agree to that.
Even Kirby, he really doesn't know how all this. None of us know. No. And I think that's part of Nick Saban. He really doesn't know why and I understand their love of family and how they've treated their players, but so many people that are used to knowing what's happening. We don't even know from like the end of spring season right here who all we're going to get back into fall camp, do we?
No,
everybody's eligible to leave, right?
Yeah, some guys could leave. You could see, there's a guy that I talked about, I think on Monday's episode, DeRicky Wright. He left in December. Now there's rumors that he's coming back.
Right. All right. Let me play this scenario with you, Coach. All right. You know me right here. Mm-hmm. Play this scenario. So what they could have done in meeting rooms, okay, is decided that, okay, if I'm the general manager, I want to know if I'm going to invest in Drew, Dickey. Am I going to keep investing in who's the other guy?
Blaze Brolowitz.
Which of those guys is going to be my third? Okay. Mm-hmm. Or is anyone going to be my third? How many am I going to carry? Am I going to carry 3 plus 1 or 3 plus 2 or just 3? It really hit me home today when I watched my kid, Jared Hollins at South Alabama. There's only 3 quarterbacks. First thing I saw, I said, wow, he's third string. That's all I've been hearing. But then I went, wow, he's down here on this field. He gets every single rep. And up there, they are evaluating the Utah State transfer to see if they want to keep him or not. Jared to go to number 2. So I told Jared, you'll be number 2 when you show up in fall camp, if not before.
Yeah. So
that's why you got to look at Vandy. They're trying out those 2 guys. They've told what's a big recruit from Utah State? University of Utah.
Nate Johnson.
They've already signed him up. Okay. Let's think of it as pro ball, Corey.
Yeah.
Okay, you with me?
I'm with you.
So they've already signed him. He's got his money. Okay, it's guaranteed. You with me?
Yep.
He's came to Nashville. I'm being real. We got to get to top. People don't talk about it like this.
I'm dialed in, man. I'm dialed in. Keep going.
So that he's got his money. He's signed up. Okay, which he knows he's the guy until the Ave shows up. Okay. So when he shows up, every video they're watching, everything they're talking about is him. And then he's going to show up, and he's supposed to breathe the bridge. How long that bridge? Might be a day. It might be 12, 13, 14 games. I'm sure his contract shows that too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Look,
yeah,
thinking now, here we go, Atlanta Falcons stuff.
Now, okay.
So that's where we got to go, Corey. And that's why you need to be the trendsetter on Locked On Vandy. You're shocking the world with this type of thinking.
Well, that's why I got
you.
You
shouldn't be shocking the world because it's happening. Okay.
Yeah, that's why I got you on.
You don't think it's happening? It's already happening. It was happening. We just didn't know.
Well,
Georgia's quarterback said, "Give me what was the number? 2 million."
Yeah. 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 3 like 2 to 3 million. Yeah, it's insane. Yeah. And these staffs are turning over. Like you're starting to see it with the staffs too. They're starting to model like NFL staffs, right?
They have to, right?
You're going to see a complete metamorphosis of the on-field guys are going to actually be on-field guys, and the recruiting staff is going to be like the scouts,
the real scouts, like they do in NFL.
Yeah, and so the on-field coaches don't have to travel.
Corey Burton Scouting Service.
Yeah,
originally from what all the places you've worked. What was the scouting services? Rivals. There we go. Yeah, you got the guy right here that knows all the people right here worldwide.
That's right. We're going to go worldwide, man.
Spain and all over. But they're going to need people that do all the recruiting and then a whole other staff. And they're kind of doing it, but they're not doing it. But then they're kind of doing it, and the teams,
Let me ask you this, Corey. I got a question for you.
Go for it, Coach.
You were saying about the Vandy being a ball game, right?
Yep.
So that kind of goes with the idea. I'm gonna challenge you with the question. How about that?
Okay. Hit me with it.
Because it goes the same with the question you had about those the players that were left behind, if they're going to basically step up or not. The real question is how do they view themselves as, or how the other people view them as? So, when it comes to you guys, I heard there's this quote, right? This idea that I know I've been challenged with before. What will others say or describe what is it that you do? And the real question is, it's not about what we anticipate, but are they showcasing themselves in such a way that that's why we say what we say? So I'm kind of curious, you saying that statement, what kind of drove you to it?
The bowl game stuff? Yeah.
I guess. Because you were asking about the players.
It's year 3. And
year 4.
3, what? Oh, year 4. Okay.
Yeah. So
let's hear
he's in year 4.
That's a whole class.
Okay. Here's why I think they're going to a bowl game. Okay. All right. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. The sports calendar is loaded, and FanDuel is making it even more exciting to get in on the action because right now new customers get $200 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $200, $200 you can use to bet the tournament, MLB, NBA, NHL, and so much more. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and make your first bet a big win. FanDuel is America's #1 sports book. Clark Lee has realized that being a CEO is not working, so he's taking over the defense. They now have an identity immediately, like that. He goes and hires a top-notch offensive coordinator in Tim Beck, brings in his whole staff, brings in one of the most successful head coaches. He would be a Power 5 head coach if not for medical problems, but he has problems with seizures and things like that, so he has to take it off the field.
Multiple places too. Yeah.
He's won just about everywhere he's been.
That's right.
Including turning an abysmal New Mexico State program around to win 10 games 2 years in a row. They're finally using NIL.
Mm-hmm.
They're finally utilizing the portal and NIL, and they've signed some dudes. They've signed on defense. They signed 2 cornerbacks. One guy's 6'4", Wyoming transfer. He's getting rave reviews. Marlon Jones was Big Sky Player of the Year out at Eastern Washington. Signed those 2 guys. Pass rusher from Purdue, Corday Sindor, signed him. Brandon Fontenette, a transfer from TCU, I think has a connection with Jerry Kill. And then, you got an extremely raw, athletic quarterback of the future with Nate Johnson. You got your bridge guy with Diego Pavia, who's an expert at the system, has a ton of intangibles. And you signed Pavia's backup. And then, unfortunately, Drew Dickey's just kind of out there in the wind. Offensive line is a mystery right now. I think there's some talented guys, just don't know how they're going to gel in this new system. And the wide receivers are a mystery. Again, talented guys, just don't know what they got yet because they just, they haven't really played a whole lot. And defensive line got a really good Zaylen Wood, but they're kind of also a little bit of a mystery. Don't know which way it's going to go, but I think scheme wise, Beck will help the offensive line. They didn't get help last year. They were blocking 9-man boxes. You can't block 8 guys with 5. I'm not a mathematician, but I know that doesn't work.
As an offensive line, the highest he can block, I'll tell you this, is 6, with the quarterback size being the 6th one. So I can definitely agree on that.
Yeah. So a 7 box is not happening, right? They were too predictable. Yeah. I've watched a little. I mean, I haven't watched a ton of New Mexico State, but I've watched enough to know that Tim Beck is not overly predictable. And Pavia's dynamic. They got some dynamic dudes there.
The guy's a high school wrestler. So when you're a high school wrestler, you're doing something, Yeah,
exactly.
That's impressive to me.
And defensively, coach, I think scheme will kind of help some of the deficiencies they have in the front 7, because if you watch some of his stuff from Notre Dame, they move a ton. They blitz a ton. They stun a ton. They move, man. Those guys slant, twist. You got guys coming off the edge. You got A-gap, C-gap stunts. I mean, you got all kinds of things happening. So the overhaul, and the most important overhaul, is the strength coach.
Wow.
Robbie Steiner. That is the most important one, because you listen to the guys talk and you pick out some of the off-season, like rah-rah coach speak type stuff that they've trained their players to talk about. Yeah. But these guys, like, you can tell in their voice, they're like, dude, we've never worked this hard in our lives.
Starting to believe, starting to feel, trust.
They feel it, man. And
that's good.
The practices are more competitive. You're starting to talk from social. There's more of a buzz. Like, I've lived in Nashville for 15 years. I've never, outside of a few years with James Franklin, I've never felt this much buzz with Vanderbilt, and that's a true statement.
Yeah. Well, I think it's so much has been invested into Vanderbilt, and I think Clark Lee, I think everybody realizes it. So it's I won't say it's now or never, but it is really.
Yeah.
I mean, they got everything. Is everything finished? No, but to go for a booster or an administrator or somebody go into a meeting and say, I need, this is what I need for Vandy United, and keep slapping that door down. That's a whole lot easier to sell. I mean, even walking away from a basketball coach that was inept,
Yeah,
so
that took a lot.
People realize, all right, they're just not the old Vanderbilt that's going to chase bad money with bad money. Let's fix it.
Yeah, they hired a dude. They hired a guy that fits their identity. Like talk about a coach that's going to meet you where you are. Like his philosophy and where Vanderbilt is.
Yeah, it's an alignment.
It's an alignment. It's not much of a stretch for him to meet this roster where they are. I mean, and he's full of juice. Baseball, the pitching staff, like that's what you need to have in college baseball to be elite. Like the pitching staffs are great, dude. Like 36 innings. No, they had over 3 games this past weekend against Missouri, 36 strikeouts.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was like 3 earned runs or something like that over 3 games. It was nuts. And these pitchers are dealing, dude. They have like 6 guys that could start anywhere in the country. The bats are inconsistent, but I think that's just part of college baseball. Like if you had a guy with a high floor, high ceiling, he'd be he's in the major leagues. He's not going to college. So you got to kind of it's give and take thing. You take a guy with a high floor, he's just going to be solidly average, right?
Yeah.
He's going to be serviceable. You get a guy with a high ceiling, low floor. When he's up, man, he's crushing the ball. When he's down, he's probably 0 for 5 with 5 strikeouts.
Right.
Like it's just you just got to accept the ebbs and the flows, hitting wise. So I just think the whole Vandy. My point is the whole Vandy culture is like much improved. I think because I think
leadership.
The leadership is better. They're starting to realize, okay, we can actually do this and be good at athletics.
Go lead. Go do your job. Be a leader. Go lead.
Yeah.
Go lead. They're burning an Israel flag and they're burning an American flag. Go get the players. Go stop it. Fight for your brothers.
Yeah. And
national anthem, don't walk off the stage. What basketball team did that last night?
That was LSU.
Yeah. That's in our conference. That ain't right. We got to fight for something. These players, if they're going to line up and fight for us on the field, on the diamond, on the court, and we got people that are fighting. He's got IDF. He's got Israel soldiers that are fighting for their country. We got American soldiers, and I've coached it. You guys, you've coached. Who are we coached at Hillwood that joined the Army?
Kyle Carter is one of them.
This guy knows everybody. Mm-hmm. I just remember a couple nicknames and, red, yellow, green. That's about it, Maybe one day Kenny Chesney and I'll make a song and call Red, Yellow, Green.
Mm-hmm. We'll
become rich, and I don't want to be rich. I don't even want to be famous. I just want to be
just silently send me the profits.
Yeah.
Coach.
So who do you think was the first domino effect in this? I guess since I've known Coach KP over here, Dr. KP, I've heard about you and I've seen your show and I've seen him on your show.
Uh-huh.
I'm kind of curious, in your opinion, who's the first domino block that kind of pushed this forth? This new process, new culture. The people, the team, the players, the coaching.
They're at Vanderbilt.
It's hard to say because, I think it was Clark Lee being put on the hot seat. I think there was a conversation at the end of the season saying, hey, wake up. We need to fire you, but we're not going to. We're going to give you one more chance because we're going to give you the next tool of NIL. I want to see what you do with it. And so Clark Lee was like, oh, okay. That was the first domino. Immediately cuts his offensive coordinator, cuts his defensive coordinator, says, I'm taking over the defense, and they go and hire Tim Beck. And then Nate Johnson comes on board, and then you get more transfers coming on board. You got an offensive lineman come on board. You got the first one to come on board was the defensive lineman, Zaylen Wood. He was the first transfer. But the first quarterback domino was Nate Johnson, and then you get new coaches. You get a new O-line coach because you lose your guy to Wisconsin, and it just goes. And then people started looking like, hey, football's they're crushing it over here. They're overhauling everything. And so I think Candace Story Lee was like, okay, she was kind of looking around okay, they're overhauling. They're doing a great job. Okay, now Jerry Stackhouse, who they're friends, right? and she thinks highly of him. And I think he's a great coach in a wrong situation.
Well-dressed coach. Yeah.
Well-dressed. It's just well-spoken, just like basketball knowledge is
NBA. He needs to be the shooting coach for the NBA Philadelphia 76ers.
Yeah, he's an NBA guy.
Why waste wisdom?
Yeah.
I could say $15 million. Just ask me. I'd have told him.
I know.
From start. Don't hire him.
Yeah.
Don't hire. He needs to be. It's a bad fit.
Yeah.
Not good.
He's not a college guy, and that's okay.
No, man.
He's just not a college guy. It just wasn't a good fit. And so I think that drove, the fans realized, okay, well, now football's
He
waiting.
didn't want to be there. He hated that sideline walking around there.
Yeah, he was miserable. He started becoming miserable, and he was checked out, and it just kind of fell from there. And then baseball started. They got some really good guys out of the portal, and they started using NIL more. And so just, football's just the measuring stick for every university. If football's doing it, then everybody's going to follow suit.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Happened at Georgia too. Like Georgia had an underachieving coach, and Georgia's been known for keeping non-football coaches too long past their prime. Did it with baseball, did it with basketball.
Multiple times,
multiple times,
too.
Right? Yeah. Different eras, multiple times, different ADs. That's just kind of the culture there.
That's just, right.
They woke up. They hired Wes Johnson. Now they're at the top of the SEC in baseball. They hired Mike White. They're getting ready to win the NIT, which Georgia basketball has two parts of their history: Dominique Wilkins and Anthony Edwards, and that's it. That's their entire history. Like
I just remember Dominique, the freak Dominique,
the human highlight reel. So, but yeah, so that's what I think Clark Lee just his seat being red hot and almost getting fired. Probably should have been fired, to be honest with you. But he's not, and here we are. All right, that's going to wrap it up here for part one. This amazing guest appearance by Kurt Page and Coach Yaw. Man, we've had so much fun. But you want to stick around for part two as we continue this discussion tomorrow. See what we talk about. You have to check it out. But we're going to get out of here. Thank you for listening. Find us on social media at Locked On Vandy on Instagram and X, formerly known as Twitter. And until then, anchor down.